Okay, so hi Tim, good morning. So let's get started. So can you all answer what is the main purpose of the Azure Data Factory? How we will be using Azure Data Factory? What is the answer for first question? Data integration and orchestration. Only I see two people responded. Thank you. That is correct answer. So virtual machine management, yes, we know 100% it is not. Big data processing, yes, it will process the big data, but the primary goal is not only just for processing the big data, okay, or just we are using for processing the big data. Next, cloud storage management, no, it is not at all a storage, it is just a data integration and orchestration. It has a lot of linked service capability, meaning automatically there are a lot of inbuilt connectors are available. With the help of those connectors, it can able to integrate with the different sources and things. And orchestrate means normally we can use a master pipeline to say, hey, just ingest the data, then call the data transformation job, then call the load job to load the data into the data warehouse or database for further analysis, right? So like that you can orchestrate. So the answer is data integration and orchestration. Orchestration is the correct answer. Next, which of the following component in Azure Data Factory defines the structure and format of data? Which component in Azure Data Factory defines the structure and format of data? Very good. So most of your answer that is correct. So basically pipeline for you can just mention the sequence of tasks or activities that you want to run, or if you want to run tasks or activities in parallel, you can use the pipeline. Activities for running any particular task, you can use the activities. Data set is basically for defining the structure and format of data. Triggers for running the pipeline in automated way. So the right answer is C. What is the purpose of linked service in Azure Data Factory? Very good. So the answer is A, to provide a connections to a data store or compute resources. Not only data store, we can use linked service to connect to the data lake storage, blob storage, AWS S3, Snowflake we have seen, and we have seen on-premise file system, on-premise SQL server, we have seen REST API, right? So all these things we can able to connect. Along with that, linked service we can use to connect to the any machine learning studio, Databricks, Azure Data Lake Analytics, any computational service that you want to connect, you can even connect to the computational resources. So the answer is we can say A. So to define the data flow transformation, so no. So to define data flow transformation, just linked service is not enough, right? So we have to apply multiple transformation streams that we need to use to create a copy of the data for backup process. No, this is nowhere relevant to the just for connection. To schedule the execution of the pipeline, to schedule the execution of the pipeline, no. To schedule the execution of pipeline, what we will use? Triggers. Next, which activity in Azure Data Factory is used for data movement between two data stores? Okay, yes, copy activity for copying, lookup activity to look up on the our configuration details, if condition to evaluate based on the condition, if the .csv files only we want to take, or the files which are starting the name with the sales only we want to take, or if the file is existed condition written true, then only I want to copy that file, right? Otherwise, if I see there are 3 files in the folder, the child item length is 3, then only I want to copy those further process I want to start. In all those cases, we have used if condition. Execute pipeline activity to call the another pipeline from the current pipeline. We can use execute pipeline activity. So the right answer is A, copy activity. Okay. What type of activity in Azure Data Factory allows you to run custom code or scripts? I explained to you. You remember anybody? Okay. So the answer is, remember, custom activity. So where basically which you can able to use to call the batch job. Batch job is basically running your code. Okay. So what type of activity in Azure Data Factory allows you to run custom code or scripts? Remember, so there are two meanings will come here. Custom code or scripts means your scripts or custom code means if you have any kind of a just a commands, right? You just have the some kind of a commands or code. We can even use the web activity. So otherwise, if you have any Java code, .NET code, C Sharp, any Ruby code, Python code, anything, if we have complex code, that I already explained to you, we will put it in the batch, we take a image out of it and we will run it from the custom activity. Okay, the answer is D. Which of the following is not supported trigger type in Azure Data Factory? Which type of trigger is not supported in Azure Data Factory? D, because D is not a trigger. Scheduled tumbling, event based, or the existing trigger types, but manual is not a trigger. It is a manual trigger means we are going and running on demand. Okay, on demand. Okay. The answer is manual trigger, which is not part of the trigger. Next, what is the purpose of integration runtime in Azure Data Factory? So I mentioned here to define the execution environment for data flows, not only for that, to provide the execution environment for our pipelines also, we will be using the integration runtime. The answer is A. It is not, integration runtime is not for monitoring or not for scheduling or not for creating the linker service. To define the execution environment for data flows, the right answer is A. Which Azure service can be used to monitor and gain insights into Azure Data Factory pipelines? You know, which Azure service can be used to monitor and gain insights into Azure Data Factory pipelines? So basically, it is a Azure Monitor. If you remember, so in the Azure Monitor, we can able to monitor all our pipeline executions, what is happening since last 7 days, how many pipelines are failed, how many pipelines succeeded, everything. We generally take it into the pipeline log details into pipeline log table. But we can also monitor those things using the Azure Monitor. Next. In Azure Data Factory, how can you handle schema drift during data movement? In Azure Data Factory, how can you handle schema drift during data movement? Schema drift means so schema is keep changing. Okay, how to handle such type of scenarios? Which one? Very good. The answer is B. Automatically modify the target schema to match the source data. If it is a full load, we can also always say that kind of a drop table and recreate the table also. We can say after taking the backup, we can able to load. So otherwise, what we can do is we can using the data flows. What we can do is we can change the schema on the fly. Okay. What is the key advantage of using data flow in Azure Data Factory over traditional pipelines? What is the right answer, team? Very good. So the right answer is B. That is correct. Data flows offers serverless data integration and transformation capabilities. That is the right answer, because data flows provides real-time data movement. No, it is not. Even data movement, we won't use the data flows because it uses Spark, which is costly. For just moving the data, we won't use Spark. Okay. The third option is supports more data sources types compared to pipeline. That is completely wrong. As per our discussion, also you remember. So it is just supports around 15 source systems, whereas pipeline supports 100 plus source systems. Data flows are easier to deploy across different environments. So everything is same, right? Not only data flows, everything can be deployed very easily in different environments. So the right answer is B. offers serverless data integration. What is serverless? Meaning we no need to define the number of cores, the cluster size and all. Automatically they will maintain everything, the compute resources for us to run our transformation jobs. The answer is B. What is incremental load in Azure Data Factory? Very good. So the answer is D. So process of updating only the changed or new data in the destination data store is nothing but a incremental load for us. Okay. So not for decreasing the size of data stored in data factory, because data factory will not store any data. Way to load data into Azure Data Factory in small increments? No. Technique to process data in parallel across multiple Azure Data Factory pipelines? No. This is also completely. Next, which scenario is ideal for using incremental load in Azure Data Factory? Good. The answer is D. That is correct answer. When loading data that has changed since last load, we need to pick not the loads that we are doing when we have a source is cloud, when you have a source is on premise. All these are wrong. When loading large volume of data without any changes, that is also wrong, right? So when we don't have any changes, why we will load the data, even incremental data, right? So the right answer is when loading data that has changed since the last load. Let's say yesterday till yesterday you have 1 million records. Today 50,000 records added. You want to take the 50 records which are added recently, right? So for that we will be using the incremental load instead of copying all the 1 million plus 50,000 records. How does incremental load differ from full load in Azure Data Factory? Incremental load process data faster than full load. That is also correct answer. Okay, but that is a just advantage. Here it says, how does incremental load differ from full load? That is advantage. Incremental load process data faster than full load. That is correct. Okay, but incremental load loads all data from source, while full load loads only the changed data. That is completely wrong. Reverse they are saying, right? Full load will load all the data. So second option completely you can rule out. Next, incremental load process only changed or new data, while full load reloads all the data. Okay, so the third option can be a answer again. So keep the A and C in your mind. So incremental load is only available for cloud-based data store. That is completely wrong. We have done incremental load even for the sources. On-premise also we can able to do. So A and C, what is the right answer? How it is differ? How it is differ means the answer is, the exact answer is C. Okay, what is the advantage of the incremental load means? We can say incremental load process data faster than the full load, but here it says incremental load differ from full load is incremental load process only change or new data, while full load reloads all the data. The answer is C. Next, what are the advantages of using incremental load in Azure Data Factory? What are the advantages of using incremental load in Azure Data Factory? Tell me, what is the advantage of incremental load? Improving data security, no. Increasing data capacity, storage capacity, no. Simplify data transformation and mapping. Simplify data transformation, how it will simplify? No. The answer is reduce data latency. Data latency means the amount of time it is taking, it will reduce, because incremental load process only the data which is changed. So it basically takes less time to process. So that's why reduce data latency, and it will make the processing faster processing time. And data latency is low means it will done it in a less time. Clear all of you? The right answer is A. Next, which activity in Azure Data Factory allows you to perform incremental load efficiently? Answer is not D. Why everybody answered D? It's a just incremental load. Incremental load means what? We were discussing from the starting, right? It is a just change data capture. So change data capture means in order to do the CDC, why you need to go for data flow, which is using this Spark, which is costly, right? So that is not the efficient way to do the incremental load. The change data capture we are doing with the help of the copy activity. Copy activity, we will put a query saying that select star from table where load date or ID greater than the last processed ID or last processed timestamp. We will put that particular condition in the copy activity, which brings only the change of data. So that is copy activity is the right answer. Okay, D is not the right answer. Anybody wants to talk on that, please let me know. If you're satisfied with the answer, that is fine. Otherwise, if anybody wants to talk, you want to justify data flow activity only correct, you just let me know. Anybody is there here? Okay, fine. Next. In incremental load, what is the purpose of watermark column? So you try to read all the answers, okay? Yeah, so that is right answer. It keeps track of last loaded data based on the defined timestamp per version. The answer C is correct because the watermark column itself, the main purpose is to identify the last loaded data based on the uh, defined or stored timestamp per version or ID. Okay, it indicates total size, no. It filter out unnecessary data, no. It encrypts data. That is totally wrong answers. Okay, next. How can you determine which records are new or changed during incremental load in Azure Data Factory? So the answer is C is correct because we are not using any checksums or hashes. Similarly, we are not comparing the source and target data. We are not even using any machine learning algorithms. We are simply using the watermark value. Using the watermark value, we are querying against the source table or source table timestamp or source table ID and getting the required change data capture like incremental data. Okay, the answer is C. What happens to the watermark value during each successful incremental load operation? What you will do? What happens to the watermark value during each successful incremental load operation? Yeah, the answer is still C because 18th also answer is C. If you see it is reset to the initial value, no, that is totally go wrong. It is incremented by a fixed number. No, you cannot able to fix the incremental number every time. Increment by 5 or 10 you cannot do based on the data that you are loading. You need to take. So that's why it is updated to the current timestamp per version which is there in the table. So generally we will take a max version or max current stamp or max ID we will take, right? So it remains unchanged? No. So the answer is right answer is C. In Azure Data Factory, what are activities? Very good. The answer is B. Automated workflows that perform actions on the data. Yes. So copy activity basically copies the data, delete activity to delete the data. So that is automated workflow based on the type of activity. It will perform the action on the data. If you are using the copy activity, it will copy. If you are using delete activity, it will delete, right? And so on. So the answer is B. It's not a Azure virtual machine used to process or data visualization templates for creating data. all those are not right answers. Okay. Which of the following activities in Azure Data Factory is used to copy data from source to destination? Data flow activity or transformation activity, control flow activity or data movement activity? See, these are not the activity names, these are categories of the activities. Under which category you are going to use? Okay, remember, so data movement, under data movement, if you remember, we have two types. So data copy activity and data flow. We were using the copy activity to copy data from source to destination. So the right answer is data movement activity. That is the category. Okay. Next, what is the purpose of control flow activities in Azure Data Factory? So answer D, you can roll out. Access permission, no. To monitor data movement process, no. Okay. So C and D is you can roll out. To perform data transformation on the source data, because control flow is just for controlling, it is not going to do the data transformation. So A is also ruled out. The only answer which is left is B, to control the sequence and dependencies of activities in a pipeline. Yes. So you'll just check some conditions. If condition is matched, you'll control the flow, the sequence, the controlling the sequence and the dependence of activities in the pipeline is the right answer B. Which activity in Azure Data Factory is used to execute piece of code or script during the data integration process? I told you earlier, right? So if we have uh, so which activity is used to execute piece of code or script during the data integration process? Yeah. So if you remember, as I mentioned, there are two things, right? Web activity and we have custom activity. Custom activity, we will put all the code and we will issue the command from the custom activity that will call that particular code. So web activity also we can able to use to run the some piece of code that we have. So the answer is not D, answer is C only, correct. So but we have not discussed much about it, so I'll give the more explanation on this later after once we completed this. Okay. Next, when should you use the Databricks notebook activities in Azure Data Factory? So the right answer is, if you see here, to copy data between two data stores, no. To perform data lookups from external sources, no. To create manage data pipeline. For managing data pipeline, why we need to run the notebook activity? So the right answer is to execute a script in Databricks notebooks. To execute the code in the Databricks notebooks, we need to run the Databricks notebooks in the Azure Data Factory. Next, which activity in Azure Data Factory is used to retrieve metadata from a specified data set or file? Okay. Table config or metadata files we are reading using which activity? Lookup activity. Okay. Next. What is the primary purpose of data flow activities in Azure Data Factory? Correct. The answer is B, because data flow activity we are not using for scheduling orchestration, or not using for integration runtime, not using for configuring data set for data movement. We are using this to perform complex data transformation using a visual experience. Correct. Okay. Next, which activity in Azure Data Factory allows you to call one pipeline from another pipeline? Which activity in Azure Data Factory allows you to call one pipeline from another pipeline? The answer is C, execute pipeline activity. Next. What does the until field in until activity of Azure Data Factory represents? We have used until activity, right? So until settings, until field will be there. So the condition to evaluate for loop termination. So right, so until when the condition is true, it will come out. Until the condition is false, it will keep waiting until the condition is satisfied. It will keep waiting. So until field is basically condition to evaluate for loop termination. Okay, just it will wait when the condition is met to terminate the loop condition. So that's what. So the right answer is C, because all these are completely irrelevant answers. So you can easily sort out the answer. Which activity in Azure Data Factory is used for data partitioning and parallel execution? Parallel execution and data partitioning. The right answer is for each activity. So in for each activity, each row you can able to create a one item. So each item you can call it as a one partition. Okay. So this particular each row of data, what we can do is, instead of passing one by one item, right? What we can do, we can able to pass multiple partitions. You can say here the terminology may be confusing with the Spark for you. So what you can see here is parallel execution. Up to 50 items you can pass it to the inner activities of the for each. Okay, so batch of maximum 50 you can give, meaning 50 items will process at once, meaning 50 partitions will process at once. So the right answer is for each activity. Okay, because which activity in Azure Data Factory? So the activities for each activity, data flow is activity is there, but within the activity we are not doing all these things. So we are doing within the data flow transformations we are doing. Maybe if it is a data flow activity, it should not give it as a which activity, it should ask us which transformation. Okay, fine. What is data flow? Is data flow in Azure Data Factory? Try to read all the answers. It is not for data integrations, right? Data integrations, we have the pipelines also. We don't require data flows for the data integrations. The answer is D. It's a cloud-based data transformation service of using the ETL, extract transform load operation. Okay, okay, not for graphical user interface for design data integration, way to copy data from one to no, all these are wrong answers. Okay, so the right answer is D, a cloud-based data transformation service for it. Which of the following statement is true about data flows in Azure Data Factory? So structured data only? No, semi-structured data also we can use. Required coding in SQL or Python, so automatically it will generate this Spark code. We no need to require to write the code. So copy data from on-premise sources only? No. Okay. To copy from on-premise? No. Mostly earlier data flows will not support on-premise sources itself. It supports only the cloud services. Now one or two they added to connect to the on-premise. Okay. Next. So the right answer is, we can say that data flows allows you to perform data transformation using a visual experience. That is a true. Next, in data flows, what are available data transformation activities? Tell me, out of all these, which are available data transformation activities? The right answer for this team? We nobody. Okay, only 2 3 people answered. So the right answer is, right, in data flow, what are the available data transformation? Copy is not a data transformation. You rule out A. Execute pipeline and data movement is not a data transformation. Rule out. Web and Databricks notebooks are not a data transformations, right? So data transformation activities. These are not a data transformation activities in the Azure Data Factory or data flows. Sorry, they asked in data flows. In data flows, aggregate, join, union are the data transformation. Next, how does data flow in Azure Data Factory differ from mapping data flow in Azure Synapse Analytics? What is the right answer for this? Okay, so the right answer is D. So we have seen there are some limitations. So basically we are using data flow in data factory to design the data transformation on big data, and whereas data flows in the Synapse Analytics is designed for data transformation on relational data. And basically we can also apply the data transformation on the big data as well, right? So but generally, right, so because in Azure Data Factory, why only data flows we will use for processing the big data? Because we have we don't have any other supporting tools, right? Whereas in Synapse we have SQL pool, we have serverless pool, we have Spark pool. So if you want to handle big data, definitely we will go for so the other use cases like Synapse notebooks, or we will go for the serverless pool, etc. So the if you are going to use data flows, if you have only the relational data, it is we generally will go. If you have unstructured data, semi-structured data, we will implement it in the Synapse notebooks using the Spark coding. Okay, so that is the D is the right answer for this.
Hey,
Indeed,
Malaya, didn't we use this everything for our CSV files and everything?
I am
Not just
saying
databases that.
I am saying it is a recommended to use for the relational data. If you have the unstructured data, or if you have any files, okay, so if you have any files, all those things, we generally go for the external tables we have used for processing the data. We can also use the Synapse notebooks to process it. Doesn't mean that you have to use only the data flows in Azure Data Factory for processing big data, whereas data flows in Synapse only for relational data. No, both are same. But what is the primary goal? Like which one we will use for what purpose? I'm saying in Data Factory, we don't have any other computational infrastructure for processing the big data. We will go for the data flow, but in the Synapse we have the other options as well. So when you're getting the huge files, we will go for the other options like the Spark or SQL tool. I'm saying it doesn't mean that whatever here I mention only those things are possible. There are other things also possible, meaning you can use the data flows in Synapse also to process big data. Similarly, data flows in Azure Data Factory also can be used for processing the relational data. Clear? Next. In data flow, what is the purpose of derived column transformation? Yeah, the right answer is straightforward. It is to perform data type conversions and create a new calculated colors. We will be using the C. Next. So what is the key advantage of using data flow in Azure Data Factory? So the right answer is B, serverless and fully managed data transformation at scale. So they will be taking care of everything, right? So they will be managing the clusters. They will be managing code visual experience into code conversions, code optimization, execution of that particular code on the provisioned compute infrastructure. So all those things are the main advantage or key advantage of the data flows in Azure Data Factory. Okay, fine. So we will move on to the rest of the things. Now let me just take you through few important questions. Let's start with this. What are the main components of Azure Data Factory? Main components of ADF or Synapse, both are same, I can say. Okay. What are the main components? Linked service. I don't know what you people are not, why you people are not able to answer. So activities, right? Pipelines. So come this way, right? So in ADF we create the pipelines. These pipelines uses activities. Activities uses datasets. Dataset uses linked service. Linked service uses integration runtime. Correct? Integration runtime. So once everything is completed, we will schedule it using the trigger. Okay. So now for data transformations, they added the data flows. These are the capabilities that we can able to do in the Azure Data Factory. So if you come to the Synapse, we have additional things. Along with this, the additional things that we can able to do is dedicated SQL pool we can able to use, okay, to process, meaning, so you can say SQL scripts is the one main component. Synapse notebooks, you can call it as a one advantage, one more extra notebooks. Okay. So we have these things, and in the Synapse we have these things. So to execute the SQL scripts, again we have two things, right? Dedicated SQL pool we can use to execute, or serverless pool we can able to use to execute. We discussed that, right? And then Synapse notebooks we can able to use in the Spark pool, correct? So these are the different main components of the Azure Data Factory. Let's start with some of the important questions on each of these. See, basically, if you understand all these components, that will suffice our required knowledge, right? So what is pipeline? Pipelines for managing the activities runs in the sequence or parallel. So you can able to run the group of activities in parallel or sequence. For that, we can able to use the pipelines. How to call one pipeline from another pipeline? We can able to use the execute pipeline activity to call the one pipeline from another pipeline. Next, the activities. What are the different activities that we have? So definitely people will ask in many interviewers, what are the activities that you have used? So we have used a lot of activities, right? Lookup. Okay. Activities which you have used, which you have used in your project. Okay. So in most of our labs are having all of these, right? So lookup, then for each, then copy, get metadata, So remember one or two labs and you try to answer all of these things. If activity, we discussed if activity, we discussed stored procedure activity. Until activity, execute pipeline activity. Next, switch activity we have discussed. Then append variable, set variable, right? Fail activity, wait activity, web activity, notebook activity. Okay. So like this, whatever you remember, whatever we discussed, everything you keep writing this. Okay. Next. Question number 3. So we have seen pipelines, we have seen activities. Next, data sets. So the important question that they'll ask is, what is the difference between linked service and data sets? Linked service and data sets. Okay. Linked service is what? Linked service is nothing but connection string which we use. Okay, linked service is nothing but connection string which we use to process data. Okay, linked service is nothing but connection string which we use to connect or integrate ADF with multiple source. Okay, with different source and destinations. Okay, data sets are used for defining structure and format of data using linked service. So without linked service, can we connect and read the data? No. So that is the main difference. So data sets are dependent on dependent on linked service. Okay. So next, linked service can be used directly in activities when we are connecting to compute services. For example, when we are connecting to the Databricks cluster, Databricks, when we are establishing connection to the Databricks from the data factor Synapse, we just directly use the linked service in the activity, if you remember, right? So that's why linked service and data set, that is the different. Data sets are dependent on the linked service, whereas linked services can be used with the data sets or can be used with the activities directly. Linked service defines the connection string, data sets defines the structure and format of the data. Next, integration runtime. What is integration runtime and its types? What are IRs and types? So IR means integration. IR is nothing but integration runtime. Integration runtime. So integration runtime is a compute infrastructure to execute our pipelines or data or to dispatch transformation jobs. So generally, let's say if you are calling the Databricks notebooks from the Azure Data Factory means the job, it just to start the job, who will be just dispatching that command is integration runtime will help to issue that command to the Databricks notebook. A Databricks notebook, you start the execution, but the Databricks execution is going to happen on the Spark cluster. But who is going to dispatch the transformation jobs? So the dispatching will be done with the help of the IRs. integration runtime only. There are three types of IRs. Okay, three types of IRs. Okay, one is self-hosted IR, Azure IR. Third one is SSIS. Right? Self-hosted IR means to copy data from any private network to public network and vice versa. Azure IR to copy data from public to public network. So my question is, can we use self-hosted IR to copy data from public to public network? Can we use self-hosted IR to copy data from cloud to cloud?
Yes, sir.
Then why we need Azure IR? If everything can be done with the help of self-hosted IR, then why we need Azure IR? Tell me.
Because of the company provides you with the data locality.
Okay, only just for the data locality. Okay, you mean to say if somebody is
No, Azure IR is automatically created.
Very good. So the Azure IR is hosted, managed, everything will be done by the Microsoft team. Self-hosted IR should be hosted, managed, dispatching updates, everything we need to take care. So that's why Azure IR is preferred to use when we are moving the data from public to public over using the self-hosted IR. Because self-hosted IR means we need to take care. Why we need to take care? Why we need to worry unnecessarily when we have already somebody is helping us to manage the required computational services, right? That's where Azure IR is managed and hosted by the Microsoft. Self-hosted IR is hosted and managed by the user. SSIS IR is basically to execute SSIS packages from ADF. Okay. Next.
Sorry, Malaya, can you just let us know that self-hosted IR, in which case we use? I'm just a bit confused.
Self-hosted IR can be used everywhere to copy data from cloud to cloud, cloud to on-premise, on-premise to cloud, on-premise to on-premise. But when we are copying data from cloud to cloud, still we can use self-hosted IR. So which one you will choose between the self-hosted IR and Azure IR when you are copying data from cloud to cloud? I am asking.
Azure IR.
Yeah, so that is the right answer because Azure IR is managed and hosted by the Microsoft. So that is the right answer I'm saying. Okay, clear?
Yes.
Clear, Srema? Next.
Yes, thank you.
No problem. Next, so we completed what? IRs, right? Next, triggers. What are triggers and its types? What are triggers and its types? Right? Triggers are another way to run your pipelines in automated way. There are three types of triggers. One is schedule trigger, event based trigger, tumbling trigger. So schedule trigger to run based on time. Maybe it can be every minute, every hour, every day, every week, and every month. Okay, it's a many to many relationship, meaning one pipeline can have multiple schedule triggers. One schedule trigger can be attached to the multiple pipe. Next, event based trigger to run based on file arrival or deletions. We can use this. This is also many to many. This is also many to many relationship. Next, tumbling window trigger. So to run, okay, pipeline based on historical dates. Okay, this is a one-to-one relationship. One-to-one relationship. You remember one-to-one relationship, meaning one pipeline can have only one tumbling window trigger. You cannot able to use the same trigger in the other pipeline. Okay, one pipeline can't have more than one tumbling window trigger. Okay, fine. Next, triggers, data flows. So data flows, you can just say what are the transformations you have used? What are the transformations you have used in your project? So you take SCD1 and SCD2, which we have discussed, right? And you can explain all the transformations that we have used. And in the data validations, in data quality checks, what all transformations we have used. So source, next, after source, select, then derived column for deriving the surrogate key like hash value. Then lookup activity we used, and we also use it in join when the sync is data, like while implementing SCD. When the sync is data warehouse, when implementing SCDs, we have used lookup. And then conditional split. Okay. After that, again we have used we can able to use alter row for the updated records, alter row, and derived column for implementing audit fields, then sync for writing the data, right? So this is basically, and you can also sort the data before you write it, we discussed. So these are with respect to the SCDs, I think we have discussed. And in when the target is what? When the target is data lake, we also have used multiple transformations. We have combined using the union transformation, then sorted and written into the target. We have done pivoting and unpivot, right? And then we have used window transformation for what? Window transformation for what? And filter transformation we have used, right? Window transformation for generating the row number and filtering out the duplicate records. Filter transformation for filtering, where filter column, that particular column is null records, right? So like that, maybe once we go to the data flows, we will come to know like that we have used many transformation. Whatever we have used, you can able to put it here, clear, whatever you remember. But at least I am putting some 10-15 just to make sure you will remember 4-5 at least before you go for the interview, if I explain everything. Okay, next. So we have seen external table. What is the difference between external table versus managed tables? What is the difference between external tables versus managed tables? We have created external table and we also created managed tables. We created lookup tables, we create normal tables, all those are managed tables. The external table, where we created external table, tell me. Entire one session I spent on the external table creation using the dedicated SQL.
Data warehouse.
In serverless SQL.
Data warehouse, right?
Both I created in dedicated SQL pool I created, and serverless pool also we created, right? External table. On same day I done both. Everybody is telling half of answers. Fine. So remember, the external table versus managed table means the external tables, right? The external tables versus managed table means, remember, external tables reads data from external storage. If we update data in storage, external table, meaning you can use, it will pick latest data from storage. Okay, If we delete table, data still available in storage. In managed table, data will be there in table. If you delete table, data also will get deleted. Clear? So managed table means data will be there in the table. If you delete table, data also will be gone. In the external table, data will be there in the storage account. If you delete the table structure, so data still will be there. So we have seen practically. Okay. So yeah, so there are some other questions also there. So I'll share that PDF which I have created and this notepad, and then I have some other questions which I have prepared for you. So I'll be sharing all those things. You go through those things. If you have any questions, we will discuss. Okay. Clear all of you? Any questions, Tim?
Malaya, are you gonna share this question today
Yes, I'll share immediately.
with the answers?
Yes.
Okay, great. And also, if you can just, I know you discussed the multiple choice question. If you can place the answers over there,
Yeah, I'll add the answers.
that would be good.
Yeah, I'll add the answers and send you. Don't worry. Okay, any other questions, Tim? Okay, fine. If no questions, then thank you. That's all for today.